All right, it's 7 p.m. and we're going to call the Finance Committee to order on September 6, 2023. Mr. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Alderman Clemmons.
Here.
Alderman Moran.
Here.
Alderwoman Timmons.
Here.
Alderman Govea.
Here.
Alderman Camo is here. Alderman Clee.
Here.
Mayor Donches, you have
Here.
7 in attendance.
Thank you. Public comment is the next item. Is there any member of the public who wishes to address the committee regarding items on the agenda? All right, communications. First being from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Camo.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve the purchase of a lull, also known as a boom lift, for the school district from Q's Equipment in the amount of $31,995. Funding will be through Department 191 School, Fund 81500 Vehicles/Surf.
And I think Mr. Smith is here, correct? Yes, I know he's here, but I think he's here on this item.
Good evening. I'm Sean Smith. I'm the Plant Operations Director for the school district. Actually, everything you just said, describing it in your motion, kind of describes what I want to do. It's a lull. You may also know as a boom lift. It's something you have to tow behind a vehicle. It reaches up to 40 feet. It enables us to get to trees, roofs, windows, anything above that. Parking lot lights are the big thing that we would use it for.
All right, questions, comments? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Next item, again, communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Camo.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve the purchase of 17 sets of personal protective equipment from Bergeron Protective Clothing in the amount of $56,463.13. Funding will be through Department 152 Fire Rescue, Fund 61110 Protective Clothing/General Fund.
And I think Deputy Kirk is here.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Deputy Chief James Kirk. Like he said, basically everything's contained in the motion. What we're looking to do, 17 sets of PPE, which is essentially the firefighting ensemble that you see the firefighters wearing for thermal protection at fires that we respond to.
Any questions or comments? Alderman Govea.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. More of just a comment here, but looking over at the at what's being purchased, and it's pretty clear that all of these uniforms and equipment we're buying contains PFAS materials, and that doesn't go unseen by me. And I know a lot. I deal a lot up in Concord with PFAS and firefighters, and for those who don't know, it is a material and chemicals that is known to give people cancer. It's pretty clear and common. It's well documented, and there's a push to move to create gear that doesn't contain PFAS, and I just hope that comes soon, because it's really bad in the fire services industry what PFAS is doing, especially to retirees down the road when they get out and they end up unfortunately getting cancer. It's something I see on a pretty normal basis, and I know the legislature up in Concord's been pretty good at helping combat it, but hopefully one day we'll make it so we're not buying any more uniforms that contain PFAS materials in them. Thank you.
But as I understand it, there's, at this point, no alternatives if you want protective clothing?
That's correct. This specific ensemble has 3 layers. The 2 inner layers still contain PFAS. The outer layer, fortunately, through development, has no longer containing PFAS, but there is still PFAS in the ensemble as a whole.
All right, any other questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Camo.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve the annual renewal required for the continued operation of accounting software maintenance from Tyler Technologies in the amount of $99,250.71. Funding will be through Department 120 Information Technology, Fund 54407 Software Maintenance/General Fund.
Is there anyone here on this? Oh, yes. Okay, great.
Yes, it's Jason Tui, IT Department. This is just the yearly renewal for our Munis software, which does our general billing, property tax billing, and wastewater billing.
Okay. Anyone? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank
Thank you very much. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager. Alderman Camo.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve the purchase of a new playground structure and playground equipment for Fields Grove Park from Utiliplay Parks and Playgrounds in the amount of $139,723.20. Funding will be through Department 177, Parks and Recreation, Fund 71625, Citywide Playground Improvements / Capital.
And Mr. Conant?
Good evening, everyone. Brian Conant, Superintendent of Parks and Recreation. This is for a new playground structure down at Field Groves. The current playground structure is about 20 years old, is not compromised of too much, pretty small footprint. I think this will be a great enhancement of the park. It's got an inclusive spinner, similar to the one over at Legacy Playground over next to Fairgrounds. It's got some swing sets, some climbing features. I think a lot of different features that will, engage a wide age. So I'd be happy to answer any questions on this.
Alderman Camo.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I'm familiar with Fields Grove Park pretty well. When I moved up to Nashville when my kids were very small, my daughter was 3 or 4 the first time we went over there, and I'm pretty sure that the equipment is the same as it was back then. She's now a nurse at Southern New Hampshire, so if that tells you how long that equipment has been there. I'm glad to see this coming through because some of that equipment has been broken for a while, and I know about a year or so ago, there were questions about one of the pieces of equipment. We couldn't get parts for it anymore because they don't make the equipment anymore. So I'm definitely glad to see this upgrade coming in. I know that park gets a lot of use from the people in the neighborhood, so I'm very happy to see it finally getting fixed up. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your support.
Anyone else? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager. Alderman Camo.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve the purchase of 3 2023 Wright Standard mowers, model WSTX48 from Turnpike Power Equipment LLC in the amount of $29,400, which is $9,800 apiece. Funding will be through Department 177, Parks and Recreation, Fund 71623, Park Equipment / General Fund.
Mr.
Brian
Conant?
sorry, Mayor. Brian Conant, Superintendent of Parks and Recreation. Currently, right now, the department has 6 of these mowers. 4 of them are 2014s, 2 are 2020s, excuse me. During the growing season, we send out 3 crews, 2 mowers apiece, 6 guys. These mowers are used heavily in some of our smaller parks, and they're also used in our bigger parks to do the outskirts, and then the bigger mower comes in and finishes it up. It's the same type of mower that we have. I'm happy about that because the staff is familiar with how it operates, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that there may be.
Anyone? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next
Thank you very
communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager. Alderman Camo.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve Water Street Bridge Rehabilitation Design Services with Hoyle Tanner and Associates Incorporated in the amount of $122,845. Funding will be through Department 160, Admin Engineering, Fund 53107, Architect and Engineering Services / Capital.
Mr. Hudson?
Thank you. Good evening. Dan Hudson, City Engineer. We engaged Hoyle Tanner under a different agreement to go out and look at the Water Street Bridge and the Main Street Bridge to assess their condition, since there's a lot of work happening down in the riverfront area in the coming years. Their assessment is that Water Street Bridge needs some work. This contract would enable them to take that to the stage that's ready for bidding. Ideally, we would do that renovation work concurrently with the other work planned in the area, which is planned for next year. So we really need to get them under contract, have them fully assess the bridge and prepare the plans, documents and whatnot to get it to the point that we can advertise the project for rehabilitation. The bridge was rehabilitated once before. I think it was back in the 80s. So that was, targeted about a 20 to 30 year design life, and we're beyond that. So it's due for rehabilitation. I'd be happy to address any questions.
Anyone? Questions? Although, If not, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager. Alderman Kamala.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve the award of the construction contract for the 2023 sewer replacement project, Contract 2 to N. Grenice and Sons Incorporated in the amount of $483,375. Funding will be through Department 160, Admin Engineering, Fund 54210, Construction Services / Bond.
Again, Dan Hudson, City Engineer. So we have a couple projects here that we bid out for some sewer and drainage work. This one is in the Foster Court and Granite Street area. There's some bad sewer pipe over there that needs to be replaced. This is actually a dig and replace project. We bid the project out. We received 2 bids, and Grenice and Sons was the qualified low bidder, so we're proposing to award this contract to them.
Anyone? Alderwoman Clee.
Thank you so much, and thank you for taking care of this. It's been kind of, we know there's an issue in that area. But I do have a quick question. There's a significant difference between the two bidders, and anytime I see this, I always wonder why. Is it per item, or did one just want to do a little bit more, or do we know?
So we're in an interesting climate in terms of bidding projects. We were thankful to receive 2 bids on this. Some projects we haven't even received 2 bids, some we received none or 1. But it really depends on the individual contractor, what they have currently in their, on their list of things to do. This is work that we're planning to do this year, so, some contractor may have availability to do it, others may not. So they may bid a higher price or may not bid at all. So looking through the items, it was kind of across the board. DeFelice's costs were a little bit higher than N. Grenice, and I can't speak fully to why exactly that is, but N. Grenice is responsive and appears to be suitable for moving forward with.
Just one more question. Thank you. Is this a continuation of the project that we're doing on Orange Street? Because it goes right into that area, right?
Yeah, it's kind of work in the same area, but under a different project. So there's been a lot of gas work that occurred out there, and some other work as well. As part of some issues and looking at that whole area, realized this was a piece that needed to be done as well. So we've kind of been working in the area. We want to kind of finish that and do this work so that we're done working in that vicinity for a while.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager. Alderman Camo.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve the award of the construction contract for the 2023 sewer replacement project, Contract 3, to RWC Enterprises in the amount of $523,010. Funding will be through Department 160, Admin Engineering, Fund 54210, Construction Services / Bond.
Again, Dan Hudson, City Engineer. So this is drainage work, but same sort of a story. We have some issues that we're trying to address by building some pipe. Currently, we have some drainage that runs through private property. It's a location that's hard to get to. There's a broken pipe, and we really can't get out there to do work because the whole area is built up around with residential. So we're seeking to bring those pipes into the road and route around that area that runs through private property. We bid this out, received 2 bids. In this case, N. Grenice was higher than the other bidder, who was RWC of Nashua, and so we're proposing award to RWC.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager. Alderman Kamara.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve change order 2 to the 2022 CIPP lining program with Kenyon Pipeline Inspection LLC in the amount of $945,425. Funding will be through Department 169 Wastewater, Fund 54210, Construction Services slash Wastewater.
So this is a proposed change order. As noted, we had bid out CCTV and lining previously, and Kenyon won that contract. They had done a bunch of work. They've exhausted the budget that we had allocated today for that work. We're looking to extend that work. We're doing a lot of CCTV to stay ahead of the paving program and other work occurring around the city, as well as working through the pipes that are older and we expect would have problems. And as we find stuff, we need to be able to line it again to catch it before we have to dig it up. And as I have explained before, that's much more expensive and disruptive to the community. So we're seeking to extend Kenyon's contract. They've been good to work with, and this will enable us to keep that CCTV and lining work going. And so that's why we bring this forward for consideration.
Anyone? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Next, communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve a contract for engineering services at the landfill for the Phase 4 expansion, Phase 1 engineering with Sanborn Head in the amount of $99,800. Funding will be through Department 168, Solid Waste, Fund 54210, Construction Services / Bond.
Is Mr. Santos here on this?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. Darren Santos, environmental engineer for the Solid Waste Department. This contract with Sanborn Head is to fulfill some conditions of our Phase 4 expansion permit for the 35 years of airspace. We need to conduct a study to the depth of bedrock in between the two, the old landfill and the existing landfill. The current haul road there, where the bottom of the new Phase 4 will start. We have to confirm depth of bedrock there, make sure we have the separation. And then when we construct Phase 4, we're going to remove 6 or 7 monitoring wells that exist along that haul road. And we need to install 4 replacement wells for those before we begin. And those will be outside of Phase 4 to replace those wells in the haul road. And be happy to answer any other questions.
Questions? All right, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next, communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Camo.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve a contract to continue construction of the residential setback barrier wall in the Phase 1 and 2 landfill with Charter Contracting Company in the amount of $612,934. Funding will be through Department 168, Solid Waste, Fund 54210, Construction Services / Bond.
Mr. Santos?
Yes, Darren Santos, Solid Waste Department. The setback barrier wall is an ongoing project. It exists in the Phase 1 and Phase 2 landfill at the 500-foot setback from the residences. And we have to construct a vertical wall there to separate trash, keep it on the inside of that setback. We need to do an expansion quickly here to be able to capture the remaining airspace in Phases 2 and 3. We can't fill too much higher until we get the wall to come up with it. So this will get us going through the next year or two for the airspace. We have about 5 to 7 years in Phase 2 and 3 left.
Okay, thank you. Anyone? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next, communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Camo.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve the contract to do a supplemental site investigation of the Four Hills landfill with Sanborn Head in the amount of $52,500. Funding will be through Department 168, Solid Waste, Fund 55699, Other Contract Services / General Fund.
Mr. Santos?
Yes, Darren Santos, Solid Waste Department. This is also a condition of the Phase 4 permit to renew our groundwater management permit. And the supplemental site investigation is to collect data to support that the existing groundwater management zone, which goes from the landfill property to the river and also includes the nearby Gilson Road site. We have to confirm at least that our portion of it, the landfill Phase 4, isn't going to need to expand that zone at all. So that works with Sanborn Head, and I should mention there is a slight price reduction by combining the first item I talked about, the $99,800, and this, because there's going to be one well installed as a part of this with one mobilization. So.
All right, thank you. Anybody have questions? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Camo.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve the purchase of one 2024 Freightliner cab and chassis with roll-off body from Advantage Truck Group in the amount of $216,394. Funding will be through Department 169 wastewater, Fund 81500 vehicles/WRF.
Is this
Good evening.
Mr. Rush, you're here on this, right?
Yes, sir. Good evening, Michael Rush, Fleet Manager. This roll-off is going to replace our 2011. It is a like-for-like purchase. It is a CNG vehicle. It's used daily to remove the cans, sludge cans, and deliver those to the landfill, as well as doubling as a backup to move landfill containers as needed up into the cell.
All right, anybody have anything? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Camo.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve the sole source purchase of asphalt and aggregates from Brock's Industries and Continental Paving in an amount not to exceed $144,500. Funding will be through Department 161 Streets, Fund 61507 Asphalt and 61535 Gravel/Loam.
I believe this is Mr. Ibarra.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. John Ibarra, Superintendent of Street Department. This is an annual expenditure for the materials we use on a daily basis in our operations at the Street Department. It allows us to encumber the funding to do business with Brock's and Continental. And we use the asphalt for patching our trenches, for our mill and fill program, and to supply our hot box when we're out. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Anyone? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Camo.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve the purchase of one asphalt repair hot box trailer from Viking Chives in the amount of $49,505. Funding will be through Department 161 Streets, Fund 81500 Vehicles/Surf.
Johnny Barra, Superintendent, Street Department. So this purchase will be exchanging an 81 or replacing a 1981 hot box. So it's well exceeded its life, and we use this daily to patch hot box or patch potholes, excuse me. And I'll answer any questions you may have over this.
Any hot box questions? Yes.
Well, not a
Mr.
question
Camo.
about the hot box, but as something else that came into service in 1981, I would hope that that's not an indication of outliving something's usefulness. Thank you.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Camo.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve a change order number 1 to add additional quantities and extend the contract completion date with Markings, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $162,000. Funding will be through Department 161 Streets, Fund 54275, Signing and Striping Services/General Fund.
Johnny Barra, Superintendent, Street Department. So the existing striping contractor that we've been using for the last few years was unable to hold their pricing, so we went out to bid this spring, and Markings, Inc. was the low bidder. We brought a motion earlier in June before the end of the fiscal year to encumber $162,000 out of our operating budget as we awarded the contract to that company. And now I'm seeking to encumber fiscal 24 $162,000 and apply that towards that contract so we can stripe the city moving forward. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have with that.
Anyone? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Camo.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve the purchase of 3 2024 Freightliner cabs and chassis with body and snow fighter package from Viking Chives in the amount of $812,799, which is $2,070,933 each. Funding will be through Department 161 Streets, Fund 81500, Vehicles/Surf.
John Ibarra, Superintendent of the Street Department. So these are 3 scheduled surf replacements for existing units that will be kept and run until it's no longer feasible to keep. But they'll be set up for plowing with spreaders, liquid pre-treatment, and used in our daily operations as well for our construction projects that we do citywide. And I'm happy to answer any questions you have there.
I don't see any. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Camo.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve the purchase of 2 Freightliner cab and chassis with body and plow packages from Viking Chives in the amount of $591,230, which is $295,615 each. Funding will be through Department 161 Streets, Fund 81500, Vehicles/Surf.
John Ibarra, again, Superintendent of Streets. So similar purchase, though these are 10-wheeler cab and chassis. So they also will be set up for plowing operations and our construction operations. We use the 10-wheelers further out on the bigger runs like DW, Broad Street, and Amherst Street, so they don't have to come back to the barn as often to reload. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Anyone? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next
Thank you.
communication, Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Camo.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve Design Services Amendment Number 2 for the Cotton Mill Transfer Bridge and project with Vanis Hingham Bruslin VHB in the amount of $34,871. Funding will be through Department 183, Economic Development, Fund 53107, Architect and Engineering Services/Riverfront TIF Fund.
Mr. Hudson?
Dan Hudson, City Engineer. So these next 3 items are interrelated, so I'll speak in general a little bit about them, and we can take them up one at a time. But we bid out the Cotton Mill Bridge ADA ramp project, which is to add a ADA ramp on the north side of the river. That side of that bridge is not ADA compliant currently, and so this will make it compliant. There's a ramp already on the south side. We have some of the cost for the project is funded through TIF, and some is funded from the DOT through some congressional directed funding we received. So it's a mix of funding. More help managing the project because of the DOT funding side. The first item here for you is VHB's contract. VHB was the designer of the bridge. NHDOT's process doesn't allow you to use the same designer for construction phase. You have to use a different engineer. So the first item here is VHB. They designed it. We need to retain them in a fairly small role in construction so they can review shop drawing submittals, address questions, be able to speak to any change orders that are proposed, that sort of thing, as the designer of record for the ramp. I'd be happy to address any questions about that.
Anyone? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Camo.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve the construction engineer phase services for an ADA compliant access to the north end of the existing truss bridge that spans the Nashua River in the downtown with Hoyle Tanner and Associates in the amount of $253,991. Funding will be through Department 183, Economic Development, Fund 53107, Architect and Engineering Services/Riverfront TIF.
So this is the second of the 3. Hoyle Tanner's the engineering company that has been selected to do the contract administration for the construction phase. They'll provide the in-the-field people to be there almost full-time during the construction, overseeing the contractor's work on the city's behalf, make sure we get what we pay for and that sort of thing. This work is going to occur through the winter. Their fee assumes the worst-case scenario where they'll have to be there basically every day through the winter. In reality, I don't think that'll happen. I think this will come in well under budget, but conservative basis, we did set this contract up that way. And I'd be happy to address any questions about their contract.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager. Alderman Camo.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve construction services with ED Sweat Incorporated in the amount of $1,320,540. Funding will be through Department 183, Economic Development, Fund 53107, Architect and Engineering Services / Riverfront TIF Fund for $1,020,540, and from 53107, Architect and Engineering Services / NH. Cotton Mill Bridge for $300,000.
So this is the actual construction of that structure. We bid this out. We only received a single bid. It was from ED Sweat. ED Sweat is a reputable bridge contractor, so they're qualified for this work. We did review the bid and found it balanced and all that sort of thing. DOT also reviewed it in approving us to award this contract. We have elected to proceed with this bid, subject to your approval, so we can get this work completed. The Attorney General's office is interested in us getting this ramp constructed. Given this a bidding environment, we didn't feel there was any guarantee if we rebid this that we'd get more bids or that the bid would be lower. So we're inclined in proposing to proceed with this construction as noted.
Alderwoman Clee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Hudson, for bringing this to us. I know this has been an issue of concern for many of the residents that tend to use that bridge. We even had a gentleman, I think, who came in here and spoke about that. So I'm glad to see this is finally getting done. Currently, they have to enter into the cotton mill building, isn't that not correct? Use that elevator to get up there to be able to get to the other side.
Yes, that is correct, and that's private property, and
Right.
so not necessarily accessible at all times of day and that sort of thing. So this will provide ADA accessible access that is separate from the private property, which is one of the major features of the project.
Which is why even though we only got the one bid, trying to go out and rebid and delay this, just to me, Cotton Mill has been very good to allow us to do that. But I know people that have come off after hours and so on can't use that bridge, so I appreciate this. Thank you.
Anyone else? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Next communication is an informational item. Without objection, we will accept it and place it on file. Unfinished business, tabled in committee, new business resolutions, new business ordinances are the next items on the agenda. We have no items under any of those categories. So we will move on to the record of expenditures. Alderman Camo.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to make a motion that the Finance Committee has complied with the city charter and ordinances pertaining to the records of expenditures for the period from August 11th, 2023 through August 31st, 2023.
Anyone? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. General discussion. Are there any items of general discussion? I don't see any. Public comment. Is there any member of the public who wishes to address the Finance Committee?
Lori Ortolano, 41 Berkeley Street. I was over at the debate today and had an opportunity to listen to the candidates speak, and there were some interesting comments that came up on the Performing Arts Center and the costs of that and the commitment of that, and I wanted to clarify some of the information stated. And the reason I'm addressing this is because that center is done. It's our building. It's not our building. We don't own it, but we rent it, and it's here to stay, and we should all make the most of what we have. But I think there were mistakes made in that project, and I want to make certain we never go back and do that again. And I'm concerned that we will do that again if we don't acknowledge what we did. And I'm concerned with some of the downtown projects right now, particularly the Mohawk Tannery and the Riverwalk project, because of cost overruns. the uniqueness in the Mohawk tannery of that project and the complexity of the Nashua, the public money piece, and with the Riverwalk project, just general cost overruns. And it was stated today by a candidate that we had given a $7.1 million loan, the city of Nashua, to 201 Main Street Financing to build that art center. And Mr. Mayor, you stated that there was no loan given. And I'm here to tell you that there was a loan given. And here's the loan agreement. Here's the security pledge agreement dated December 17th, 2020. And here's the promissory note for $7.1 million given from the city of Nashua to 201 Main Street Financing Corp. with a 1% interest rate to be paid on an interest-only basis, which was $71,089 per year for 7 years, and then and it has a maturity date of 2050, with interest and principal starting thereafter. You signed this loan. It's your name on it with Mr. Lannon. So to state that there was no loan given was absurd to me. And the mystery of that loan is very concerning to some of us who've tried to follow what's going on, because this loan was never put on the city books. It was never accounted for. We don't even know how a public accounting firm that does an audit of the books would not recognize that a $7.1 million loan wasn't recorded when interest payments were coming into the city, and those were on the books. So, and the reason we're
30 seconds.
The reason we're paying that rent for this art center is to cover the cost of these loans, not just this city loan, but Muskoma's $9.55 million loan has an interest only payment of $130,000 a year. And our rental money of $500,000 a year up to $670,000 a year for 25 years is picking up the cost of all the fees associated with that new market tax credit and the loans. And this was a very complex project that we should not have undertaken. And I'm going to be in here talking about this a good bit more, because I think there was mismanagement of public funds here. Thank you.
So what I explained again about all of these inaccuracies and false statements that are being made repeatedly, what I disagreed with was the accusation that we spent $7 million and loaned $7 million more than we were authorized by the Board of Aldermen. The Board of Aldermen authorized $21 million. That's what we spent, period. That's it. No extra 7 million, no extra 9 million, no extra 16 million. All of these, and I explained that all of these expenditures, checks get written by the finance department, and that they would never sign a check for $7 million or 9 million or $16 million more than authorized by the Board of Aldermen. That would never survive an audit. We would never have a AAA bond rating if they were doing things like that. So it is, these accusations that have been made for a long time now are just totally inaccurate. The other inaccurate observation that's been made many times is that somehow the city is paying $500,000 annually. No, this is a break-even transaction. There is so-called rent in the amount of approximately $500,000, but there's a distribution back to the city in approximately the same amount. So this is a net zero situation, which is what I said today and what I've said many times. And I wish the people who keep making these statements would listen to the Finance Committee, to the CFO, and to common sense, and stop making these false accusations.
You don't allow us to meet with your
Remarks by Alderman, are there?
have those comments, Mr. Mayor.
Remarks by
You
Alderman.
don't allow us to have those comments. Your doors are locked so we can't speak to anyone. That's the problem with your administration. There's no transparency here. You want miscommunication to stop? Open the doors of City Hall.
I will make this factual statement, that Mr. Cummings and some people from the assessing office are meeting with Ms. Kuhn tomorrow. I believe it's tomorrow, to talk over whatever she wants to talk over. So this idea that we never meet with anyone is, again, another inaccurate statement. Anyway, so remarks by Alderman. Alderman Alderwoman Clee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to also address, I know she stormed out before she could hear any other comments, but I would like to reiterate what you said about that $7.1 million loan. That was all part of the bond that was approved in 2020. This is not additional money. It's just the original money that was taken. And like with any bond, we put that money aside, and as we use it, we write out whatever the checks are, whatever the loans are, or whatever the payments are to the different organizations. It is not new money, and I want to reiterate exactly what you said. As far as that $500,000, this is going to sound really not a great way of saying it, but it's a paper chase. It's just we put it there and it comes back here. And that's all it is, and it needed to be done appropriately for this. And this is not something new. Portsmouth has done it with their library, and different other organizations do it as part of the new market tax credit and so on. So I want the public to hear that. I also want to be very adamant about something about transparency. I was at the same debate, and I kept hearing about transparency, and the lack of transparency. So I'm going to reiterate, I was at every one of those steering committee meetings. They were the most dynamic and accessible meetings. We had people from the public who sat at the table and spoke in real time. We didn't do public comment like this. They actually sat at the table. Mr. T-Boom was one of them. Mrs. McCarthy was one of those people who sat there and gave real-time comments and real-time information and asked real-time questions. They didn't wait till after the meeting. And I don't mean interrupted, they raised hands, everything was very polite. I think it was the most dynamic meeting. So for anybody to turn around and say there was no transparency and no information was shared is just doing it for a talking point and a soundbite. And I'm very insulted by that, because I was at all of those meetings and we worked very hard to make sure that the public had the meeting. And I will tell you firsthand, when Mr. T-Boom did not like some of the things, he went and talked to the architects. They explained everything to him. He finally, and he gave a lot of, negative feedback at the beginning. By the end, he agreed to it. He actually told us, I remember here at a board meeting, telling us that we should increase it because after all, that's what happened at the Broad Street Parkway and people just forgot about it. So I don't think that was the right thing to do, and nobody increased anything. We started with the 15.5 because that's what we were told by Harvard when we got that first original one. By the time we went in and started making design and so on, we realized that we could not keep the building and we could not change it. So we had to change it from there. I will leave it at that. I want to thank engineering and everything for that cotton mill ramp and so on. It's something that's much, much needed. And I'm hoping that I'm not overstepping here, but there was a meeting today with the city and CSX, which is the rail. Used to be Pan Am, but they bought it about 1.5 years ago. And for all of those people whose teeth rattle every time we go over the Main Street, I don't even want to call it the railroad tracks, and watch the tracks wibble wobble and everything else like that, we have been promised they will be taken care of this month, the month of September. And the exact words from the CSX person who runs the entire CSX for New England, he said we were going to get the Cadillac of railroad crossings. And he said it's one of the longer ones, and we will not have piecemeal like we have now. So anybody who goes over it watches one go up and one do this, and positive it's going to pop up. It's going to be one long rail, and it's going to go into the sidewalks and so on. It will mean that that area of Main Street will have to be closed for 1 week. Hopefully that's it. Could possibly go a little bit more. Director Sullivan brought up emergency and so on. Chief Buxton and the police department were there at that meeting, and they said that it would be arranged, as well as a message will go out to all of the ambulance and so on throughout the entire community, so it will not have a negative effect. They felt very confident, and if CSX was going to think we were going to blink because they said that we're going to close the road down for a week, but even he said he went over and could not believe how bad it was. So we're trying to eke them out to maybe get over to Margaritas and BAE parking lot area there too, because it's just as bad, but not quite as done that. So fingers crossed that things go as, and they're going to try to piggyback it onto the Main Street parking. So that's why they don't want to go into October. I mean, the Main Street paving, sorry. So, thank you.
Any other remarks by Alderman? Alderman Moran.
Thank you. I just want to wish my daughter Autumn a happy 3rd birthday. I want to keep it very positive. Let that anger just flow out of the chamber. Thank you.
Well, I move that we all wish Autumn a happy 3rd birthday.
Seconded.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Autumn, happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Autumn.
Alderman Clemmons.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say that I appreciate your candor, and I appreciate the fact that, you know, despite the fact that some folks are throwing misrepresentations out there, you always come back with the facts, and I think, you know, the facts speak for themselves. I mean, the city has a AAA bond rating. We are, you know, constantly on every list of one of the best run places, one of the best places to live. You know, those kind of things don't happen when there is not a transparent government or when things are being shady behind the scenes. You don't get onto lists like that. You don't have AAA bond ratings when things like that happen. So when I hear the public, when I hear some members of the public state certain things, it's disappointing, because to me, it's almost like you're rooting against our city. We have a very strong government here in Nashua. We, in my opinion, take our jobs very seriously. I don't think that there's an alderman here that would ever stand for something being done in a fashion that didn't involve the public or somehow got around the right to know law. I just don't think that there's an alderman on this board that would stand for that. And you know, so I question some of the things that I hear. I think it's unfortunate when some members of the public have an outburst and can't respect the 3-minute time rule that everybody else respects. I think that's a shame. But thankfully, I think most of our citizens in this city recognize the fact that we have a very good government here. We have very good aldermen. And, you know, I think, like I said, I think all those awards and everything speak for themselves. So, thank you.
Alderwoman Timmons.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. I agree with my colleagues. I think the more misinformation that certain members keep throwing at us every single board meeting or every single, whenever they get a chance to speak to the public, it's a disservice to the city. Fortunately, people see right through it. So I wouldn't think too much about it, but you just keep stressing the facts, and everybody know, no matter how many emails we get, how many nasty emails, they all negative. People see this and they know. So I wouldn't worry about it as long as you keep the facts the way they are, which is facts. And thank you. We do have a great city. On another note, okay, we had the National Multicultural Festival this Sunday, and I really like to see everyone there. Everyone is from 10 to 2. Please show up. My colleagues, all of them, show up.
Where?
This is at the public library. It's going to be very nice. I'd like to see as many of you as possible. This is a city function.
Put it in my calendar.
Okay, good. It should have been in your calendar already.
Should have, yes.
So this is a reminder to the public. Please come out to the Multicultural Festival and hear some good music, have some good food, and just enjoy yourself. And hopefully it doesn't rain. But this is what I have to say. So public, see you this Sunday.
Thank you. Alderman Kamau.
Yes, thank you. Just two quick things. I enjoy riding my motorcycle from the heart of Ward 6 over to Panucci's. So I'm so happy to know that we're getting the Cadillac of rain crossings, or rail crossings, combined with just a reminder to everybody that paving operations are underway on Main Street between, I want to say, Pearson and West Hollis. So
The Hollises, yeah.
yeah, so avoid the area if you can, but it's going to be worth it when it's done, because that is an adventure on the motorcycle, I can promise you that. And second thing, I just want to thank the committee for supporting the replacement of the playground equipment over at Fields Grove. I won't say everything I said earlier again, but it is a long time coming, and I know that the people that live in that area are going to appreciate it, so thank you for your support.
Anyone else? All right. Alderwoman Clee.
I'd like to make a motion for adjournment.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes, and the meeting of the Finance Committee is adjourned at 7:50 PM. Thank you.